for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Hey everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
And welcome to Indiana SRN. The Sports Zone is moments away, but let me share several ways that you can follow us. On Twitter, at Indiana SRN. Subscribe to our YouTube page, Indiana SRN. Follow Keith Myers on Twitter, at Coach Indiana SRN. Or our Facebook, Indiana Sports Radio Network. Email us at coach@indianasrn.org. Please feel free to comment about the show. Now, let's join today's Sports Zone. It's the Sports Zone with Keith Myers and the Indiana SRN sports team, made possible by Morales Group, College Hunks and Movers, the IHSAA, and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
Well, it is the Sports Zone show, and today we are very blessed to have Rich Nye with us from Channel 13. Was a sports guy, and now street beater. Is that what you're doing for WTHR?
I am technically called an MMJ, which is a multimedia journalist, is the fancy term for it.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Great title, isn't it?
What it means is I do everything by myself. I drive the car, I shoot the video, I talk to the camera, then I edit the story, write the story, and put it all together and feed it back over the internet most days to get it back to Channel 13.
There you go. How about that? Let's talk a little bit about your sports career first,
Sure.
and then we'll talk about your MMJ. But sports was your nature when you first came into this Indianapolis market, wasn't it?
Well, actually, I've been in the Indianapolis market my whole life. I was born in Indianapolis, went to school in Indianapolis, went to college in Indianapolis, have never worked outside of the Indianapolis market unless you call Anderson outside Indianapolis. So I have been in central Indiana my whole life, and it was my dream from about the time I was in fifth grade. I started to want to be a sportscaster, and I'm really blessed that God allowed me to pursue that dream and to realize that dream and to ultimately do exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. And that's not something that a lot of kids can say.
Let's talk about fifth grade then. Was there a teacher there that would push you to continue to do that, and then your parents caught wind of that, and so they encouraged you as well? And then who got you that break into either radio or TV?
Well, I'm not sure why I was fascinated with broadcasting, except that as I watched sports on television, I was always more interested in the broadcasters and the athletes, or at least as interested. I had my sports heroes. For me, it was Walter Payton, Dr. J, and whoever was playing first base for the Cubs. Those were my sports heroes.
Okay.
But I was just as interested in the broadcasters and, guys who would have very, very lengthy careers and were still going, within the last few years. But like Brent Musburger, who's still around, Dick Enberg, Bob Costas, all these guys, of course, Harry Carey for me as a Cubs fan, but all these guys, I imitated them. I listened to them and watched them closely. And that's really what I wanted to do. As much as I enjoyed playing sports and wish I was a little bit better at them so I could have taken them farther, I was really interested in the broadcasters and what they did and how they did it. And from the youngest days, I thought I wanted to be a play-by-play guy, and that's what I would want to do when I grew up. And even getting out of college, that was still an option for me or something that I considered. but nothing. And I did a lot of local play-by-play of high school stuff, but I knew that to get a break in that, you've really got to commit yourself, and then you're going to be living a life on the road. And ultimately, I found my niche was much better served in telling sports stories. And that's kind of what I did for 23 years with Channel 13, was tell good sports stories.
You know, you talk about your heroes and your sports heroes. You know, I coached, I officiated, and then I founded Indiana SRN 12 years ago. And I find that God gives you your heart's desire. I was not a very good athlete, but God gave me that gift of gab, and that has paid dividends for us. And, you know, there is not a stranger that's on this show or any show that we've done, or coaches that there's a bond there. And once you connect that bond, it's just it's unspeakable. It's so fantastic, isn't it?
It is. And for me, you know, you were asking me earlier about influences and who directed me that way. And I'm not sure what sparked the interest, but I know what really let the flame ignite was at Franklin Central High School, where I attended. We had a high school radio station. Didn't have any kind of real TV media program at that time, but we had the high school radio station. And even from the time that you were in middle school and even back to fifth grade, you could do a report on your school once a week on the high school radio station. And in fifth grade, I didn't get that assignment, and it, you know, broke my heart. But by the time I got to middle school, then I became what was called a middle school reporter. And so you would call in to the radio station each day, and there was a different reporter for each day. There were 5 of us, and so whatever my day was, I don't remember, I'd call in and say, you know, here's what's going on at the middle school today, and we're having pizza and corn for lunch. And, you know, that's where it kind of started with the radio station. And then by the time I got to high school, I did everything and anything they would let me do with the high school radio station. And then when I got to be a senior, my athletic talent was really running out, and I wasn't quite good enough to be varsity in sports. So I decided that I was going to be done with sports and totally devoted myself to play-by-play of all the sports I had been playing, which were basketball, football, and baseball, and did all the play-by-play throughout my senior year for those sports. And that was a great thrill for me. My high school football team obviously didn't need me on the team because they went to the state championship game, and I got to call the game at the RCA Dome. That was an early thrill in my broadcasting career. And we had a high school radio instructor who had been a former DJ in Evansville and then became an English teacher. But he ran our radio station very professionally and required and demanded of us that we treat the radio station very professionally and carry ourselves professionally, that we were never to joke around or play around on the air. And that served me well, and he was really an inspiration. He was a Butler graduate, and that was one of the things that pointed me toward Butler. Plus, at that time, and still to this day, Butler had a lot of people working in the Indianapolis media, television news market in particular, and in sports play-by-play around the country. And so that was really appealing to me to have a hands-on experience at Butler. So that sent me off to Butler, and then I've been working in Indianapolis my entire professional career, and very happy to be working in my hometown. That is in sports, that was really special to be going and covering games at all the high schools that I had played at. I knew what the rivalries were. I knew the history and the tradition of Indiana basketball. I knew, you know, what regions of the state were synonymous with what traditions and all those sorts of things. So that really served me well and helped me as a sports broadcaster, and I think helped me connect to my viewers and the community over the years.
Rich Nye is our guest. Rich, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Can you hang with us for about 2 more minutes?
Absolutely.
We'll take this 2-minute timeout. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium Black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer, and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. Back on the Sports Zone show, Keith Myers with you this morning. Rich Knight joins us. Rich, a couple of weeks ago we had Jim Barber. He was talking to us about his day back on Wish TV and his assignments with Purdue and Indiana, and you were back those days as well. Do you remember those assignments, and how have those assignments helped you in your later life and your career?
Well, actually, I was an intern for Jim Barber, so there you go. At Wish TV, that would have been back in the fall, I believe, of 1990. I interned at Wish TV. I have been, I guess, to Bloomington and West Lafayette probably more than about most places in my sports career, and you appreciate the rivalry and the tradition of those programs. Growing up, I was a Purdue fan because my father was a Purdue graduate.
There you go.
And so I leaned always toward Purdue in that rivalry, which was always kind of amusing in my sports career because people would always accuse me of leaning toward one team or the other, and they'd always say, "Oh, you're an IU fan." That always cracked me up because I certainly was more of a Purdue fan, if anything, and probably still am a little bit to this day, although being Butler is my alma mater, that's where I pull the most when it comes to college athletics. But, I think that growing up with the great Gene Cady, Bob Knight eras of basketball, and then not only seeing that as a kid, but then actually covering, the end of both of their careers and being there, while it was still the heyday of their basketball coaching careers as well. Just a really incredible experience. And of course, I could tell a million Bob Knight stories like everybody else could tell. I'll never forget the day that he was dismissed because I was the only sports person in Indianapolis working for our station that day. And the Colts had their home opener, I believe it was, could have been their season opener. The Summer Olympics were going on in Australia, so we had another member of our crew out there. And we also had someone, I believe, at an IndyCar race Dave Calabro. So I was the one left out to hold the fort with all that was supposed to be going on was a Colts game, and that was the day that Bob Knight was dismissed.
What a break that you got there, huh?
Yeah. So we fortunately were able to call in Don Hine, who at that time was in somewhat semi-retirement, but he came in to help us out with the Bob Knight coverage since he had covered most of Bob's career. But, I was there from as a kid, pretty much the start of those eras all the way until both of them left their respective programs, with Gene being replaced by Matt Painter. And then I think you see today even just how special basketball is at those two places, but also you see the growth of football and that IU football has become respectable and become respectable on a consistent basis. And Purdue football has gone good, bad, and now I think is good again, although they certainly struggled last year with a lot of injuries. So it's been great to cover. And it's always interesting because being here in Indianapolis, you are 1 hour in either direction to both school. And when you're covering those teams, the other one always thinks that you're not covering their team enough. And so you're always dealing with folks who think you're giving favoritism to one school over the other. And it usually has more to do with that particular season and which program is being more successful. They naturally get more coverage.
Yeah. Hey, it's been really nice visiting with you. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning. We really appreciate it. Are you ready for this quiz?
I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather watch? Okay. Oh, you'll be fine, Rich.
Okay.
You're a Hoosier. We don't fail anything. Here we go.
There you go.
Would you rather watch Gilligan's Island or Andy Griffith?
Andy Griffith, I think. There's just so many more great moral lessons from that show.
Okay. Would you rather hang out with Barney Fife for a day or Gomer Pyle?
Well, golly, I'd have to go with Gomer.
Okay. Would you rather watch a good movie or read a great book?
I would probably watch the movie just because it would take me less time.
Okay. Bacon or sausage?
Sausage, but patties over links.
Oh, very good. Pizza or Subway?
Pizza.
Okay, finally, popcorn or pretzels?
Oh, I like both, but I really love popcorn.
Oh, very good.
A microwave bowl of popcorn is a perfect snack for me any night.
I have one every night with my wife. That's our tradition. As we watch the Survivor and all those things, we get to eat some popcorn. So thanks.
And 13 News, I hope.
Oh, of course, of course. Hey, thanks very much for your time. I'm sure we're going to see each other during the spring, but it's been a joy reconnecting with you. God bless you and have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Keith, and hopefully we'll get out there for some spring sports before the spring is over.
You bet. We'll take a break. When we come back, a lot more for you on the Sports Zone Show. It's Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
If you find yourself confronted by unwanted pests in your home or office, then you need to contact the professionals at Kim Mountain Pest Control. We offer quality pest control solutions at an affordable price. We specialize in ants and termites. We're also available to handle a variety of other pests, including roaches, fleas, and flying insects, as well as rats and mice. Don't wait until pests cause severe damage to your home or property. Contact the team of experts at Kim Mountain Pest Control today.
Just 2 years ago, internet radio seemed to be a mysterious phenomenon. It was available for use, but there wasn't much data. That has changed. Today, there is a growing body of information on internet radio. 7 out of 10 people ages 18 to 45 prefer to listen to internet radio than a terrestrial radio station. If you're interested in reaching this audience, email us at coach@indianasrn.org. We look forward to sharing our low rates with you and help to market your business. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org.
Having an
an electrical problem? Berkner Electric has your solution. We provide professional, residential, and commercial electrical contractor services to Indianapolis and surrounding communities. With more than 30 years of experience, we have a reputation for safety, excellence, and competitive pricing. We are fully licensed, bonded, and insured for your protection. Electrical work can be shocking, so leave that problem to the pros at Berkner Electric. Call for a free estimate. 317-773-7663.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports. It is Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. It is the Sports Zone. Keith Myers with you. You can catch us on Twitter at Indiana SRN. You could be like our friend Andy Simpson here, who likes us on Twitter. Andy, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Up north, Crown Point, if I remember correctly.
You are correct. Yep.
Andy has been involved in officiating and recruiting officials, especially high school officials, for about 8 to 9 years. I think Sandra Walter and him wrapped me around a place where I signed up officials during a state tournament during Game 1 and Game 2 about 3 or 4 years ago. Wasn't that about right, up in the balcony?
That is correct. Yep, it's just about 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. And so far, it's been pretty successful, and we're hoping to do a little better and maybe, get new and innovative with some other ways to recruit officials.
You wanted good officials, and I don't know how you picked me, but I was there, so that's a good thing. Andy, in your career, in your career doing high school sports, what has been the main focus of you with training new officials? Is it real important, and is there still that shortage? I know a couple of years ago we were really short. Are we making any strides in getting new officials?
We are. We can always use officials, and the shortage is real. It's even come to the point where it has affected some scheduling games, but it's a job that people really, they talk hard about the communications and just the abuse of officials and things like that. So that's kind of what deters a lot of people from becoming an official. But we try to tell them we'll train them and try to teach them some people skills and get them through the process so that kind of thing doesn't happen. We would love to reach out to the parents, the fans, the coaches, and everybody, and explain our situation. And look, sports is an emotional game, and we understand that you have some stock in the game and the student and, the coaches, especially since it is their job. But, there's a right way to act and a wrong way to act. And, that is really keeping officials out of the game.
This season, basketball season, was cut short, but many officials retired this year. I'm thinking of Terry Kreider of one and many others down in central Indiana. You up in the region, you lost a couple of officials from retirement. What do you say to those guys that there's still room in the game for them, maybe not to officiate, but maybe to train and maybe to mentor those young officials, because we do have some young officials coming up?
Yeah, that's right. We had in 2016, after our state final, Bob Carnegie, 44-year football official, made the greatest no call of his life in that Center Grove Carmel game. He retires after that, but Bob he continues to mentor. He continues to go to games and observe and help officials. And another one is Bob Parker. The year before that, he was on our crew and retired, and he does the same thing. And Bob is actually an observer for the state and does a great job. And I believe he just got inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. It's guys like that stay in the game. Another guy up here, Jim Lowe, for softball. Those guys stick around and really do help young officials. Without those guys and their experience, we don't want to lose their experience. So they do stick around and really help the game. That's because they love the game. They love the student athletes. They just love what they did and hope to pass on that knowledge. So that's kind of how we utilize those people. We just hope that's what they want to do. That's what I plan on doing when I get finished here.
in 90 seconds or less, and I know it takes a long time to get that, but talk to us a little bit about game day as a basketball official with 3 officials on the game. What do you go through? You've done the state championship now a couple of times. I consider you one of the best officials in the state of Indiana. Of course, your check is coming in. I'm sure my check is coming in mail saying that. But what does game day look like for an official? Because they also have bad days at work.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Folks forget that we do have a life. We don't just officiate whatever sport we're working on. So real quick, it's not only game day, it actually starts the day after. After the next game, we start preparing for the next game. I know people find it hard to believe, but it's very true. Well, normally if we can get a game film, we'll go from there. A lot of times I'll even talk to the guys that I'm going to work with, before the next day, maybe a phone call, maybe a text or something like that if we know the sport. We do real hard. Even so, we get to the game maybe an hour early. We do some pregame, some video work. We talk about the teams, the coaches, possibly what could go on. We talk about if it's a rivalry. We talk about positioning on the court, rotations of the court. We talk real hard about staying focused, staying in your primary areas. You'll hear us say PCA, primary coverage area, secondary coverage area. And if we haven't worked together, we actually take a little more time to talk to each other and kind of feel each other out and how we work. Most of us know each other, so we have a feel about what they work. But basketball is a little easier than football because we've all worked. It's kind of the same every week. The ball game. Football's a little different, but basketball is we work hard at it. Like I said, we have a pregame that lasts about 20 minutes for some of us.
Yeah, back in my college days, I remember being sequestered in the locker room 90 minutes before game time, and you ate your meal in the locker room. You watched some film, and then you got dressed, and then you prepped. And the crazy thing is, you got to be in shape. So you stretch, at the ripe old age of some of these guys. The stretching is very important because they also need to be somewhat physical fit. A lot of people, you think you can just run out on the court. These athletes are very, very quick, and you need to be in great shape.
Yeah, let's remember that every year we get older. And every year, those kids stay between 15 and 18.
Exactly.
So, that's a thing that people have to remember. And it's very important to stay in some kind of shape, Me, personally, I consider round a shape. So good for me. I fit that bill. But, it's really important to do something in the off season to stay in shape.
Andy, we got to take a break here. You got time for another segment?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more from Andy Simpson. It is the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job that helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer, and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. Back at the Sports Zone, Indiana SRN, Andy Simpson from Crown Point, Indiana, joins us. He's the high school basketball official. And Andy, how many licenses do you carry for the association?
Wow, I carried 3, but I just gathered up 2 more. I just gathered up swimming and volleyball because I plan on retiring from basketball maybe in the next year. If I'm honored enough to work another state final in the boys and girls, I just might call it quits also.
I know that you were scheduled to do a regional this season, and I know that the season was cut short. As an official, what is your mindset, or what do you think the future looks like for the Indiana High School Athletic Association if we do pick up these officials, maybe 200-300 officials? Or if we don't pick up the officials, what does that look like as an official, and also as games may be going on in different dates and different times?
Yeah, well, if we're going to lose officials. I mean, that's a fact. And the 200 or 300 that we picked up last year, just pretty much, by the time we get them trained, they're just going to take care of the retired officials. So I'm not so sure how much we're going to gain, but we're definitely not going to lose, which is very important. So the future is looking like we're going to stay kind of status quo, So it's our duty as the senior officials to make sure those people get trained correctly.
As you go through the career that you've had, what is probably one of the best memories that you've had as an official?
Wow, there's so many. Let's see. First state final I worked was in 1990. It was a softball tournament, Lake Central and Center Grove. 12th inning, 12:01 in the morning, girl hits the ball over the left field fence. That ended that one. And then the 2016 McCutcheon and New Albany with a young sophomore named Mario Langford, who scored 1 point in the first quarter and then wound up with a game-high 28 for a 62-59 victory. That was a great one. And then that same year in 2016, 6A football final, that was this Luke Eckert, I believe his name was, from Center Grove with 1 second left on the clock in regular time, kicks a 50-yarder to tie it up. And then we go into overtime, and Bob Carnegie, like I said, was retiring after 44 years. Center Grove has the first ball. Trying to remember the running back's name from Center Grove. He was a real stud. Russ Yeast, I believe his name was. And he gets about to the half-yard line and fumbled the ball. Center Grove picks it up 2 plays later, kicks a field goal, and wins the game. I mean, for Bob to end his career on a no call is pretty amazing. Those are 3 great memories, and there's so many more memories, and most of them have to do with officials.
Yeah.
Not so much the game.
Yeah, Andy, we spent time together last couple of years, and I know you did the first unified state championship flag football game, and we got to broadcast the first one, and it was so fun to be able to webcast that, to see thousands upon thousands of people who had no idea what flag football or unified flag football was going to be like. We had no idea as officials or broadcasters what it would look like, but what a fantastic day that was. And you go back and you remember those things, and as a coach, and then as an official, as a coach, and then now as a broadcaster, you cherish those memories. And there are so many people, and you always will have room for Indiana SRN if you want to make that a career. I know you have a face for radio. We would probably keep you in radio, but Andy, I thank you for your friendship. You've been very kind over the last couple of years to us.
God bless you, my friend. It's always a smile. It's one thing I always try to do on that floor, that court, whatever it is. I always try to have a smile out there. It makes people think what you're up to. They're not sure what you're up to if you're smiling. And the Special Olympics are very dear to me. I work Special Olympics all the time, which you're right. That's one of the more that's one of the more memorable moments I've had since it was the first one. And my niece actually plays in Special Olympics, so it's close to my heart.
Andy, if there's anything we could do for you, let us know, okay?
You got it, brother. Give me some new legs and we'll be good to go, man. Have a great day.
Hey, be careful on ladders. I hear they're dangerous.
Yeah, they're pretty tough, especially at that bottom one, man.
That last step is a doozy.
That was a doozy. Yeah, I took a little fall there. I had fun with it.
All right. Andy, thanks so much. We'll take a break. We'll be back with a lot more Sports Zone right after this. Time out.
Piper Group Warehouse has a strong commitment to their clients as their logistics provider. If you would like to discover how you can improve your service levels while lowering your overall cost, Piper Logistics Group can help. Call Greg Piper today at 317-396-3916. Piper Logistics Group.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052.
If you find yourself confronted by unwanted pests in your home or office, then you need to contact the professionals at Kim Mountain Pest Control. We offer quality pest control solutions at an affordable price. We specialize in ants and termites. We're also available to handle a variety of other pests, including roaches, fleas, and flying insects, as well as rats and mice. Don't wait until pests cause severe damage to your home or property. Contact the team of experts at Kim Mountain Pest Control today.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports. It is the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN. You know, we've talked to all these sports athletes. I thought we would talk to the most important people in the world, and that's teachers. Carla Braun joins us. She's a longtime friend of ours, and you've been teaching for, 35 years now?
No, not quite. This is my 8th year teaching.
Oh, okay. All right. Talk a little bit about how school has changed now for almost, 25 or so days. Kids are now getting e-learning, and maybe not every day. But first explain maybe e-learning and then what you're doing with your kids in your schools.
All right. So with e-learning, there's a lot of different platforms out there. I know a lot of teachers, depending on their district, will utilize Google Classroom. My district, we're using kind of Google Classroom's cousin. It's called Canvas, but same idea. And so what we're allowed to do, normally we would utilize these for professional development days so that we can still count it as a school day. And then, if weather prohibits us from getting together, we use it in lieu of. And what it does is it takes a lot of time for teachers to get on there, and because we want to make it purposeful and not just a blow-off day, if you will, but to give some kind of purpose. And it takes me a good 2 to 3 hours to prepare one e-learning day. And so given where we are in society and just the way that things have changed in the last month, this has kind of been another thing on teachers' plate for us to do, because we would much rather be in the classroom, because there is a lot of importance with seeing their faces every day. And a lot of those kids, I'm in a younger elementary grade, and so a lot of those kids just, they need that routine, whether they want to admit it or not. They need the routine of seeing the same faces, knowing they're in a safe place, knowing they're with someone who loves them and who cares for them and wants to, keep them safe and help them throughout the day. And so it's a struggle on just our hearts as teachers to not be with our kids. I know for me personally, it's very challenging, and because a lot of them do not come from the best situations at home, and school is a safe place for them. And so it also brings on a lot of worry for us, because whether people believe it or not, teachers, we love our kids just like our own in our classroom. And so they take over a big space in our hearts and for us to love on them. And so I would say not just the e-learning burden has been put on our plate, but just the emotional burden of the extra worrying and things like that for our kids. But yeah, it's different times we're living in right now. It's crazy, and to make sure that our students have access to the things that we're preparing on whatever platform teachers are using. I know I communicate with my parents through a app called Class Dojo, and it's kind of just like a private messenger for me to connect with parents, and then I can share things overall as a classroom with them too. And I mean, I'm getting on there and I can see that some of my parents, I can see who's on there and how many people have seen my posts or whatever. And last week, after a couple of days, I'd only had 5 out of 29 parents see my post. And so it tugs your heart again. And that's where the emotional piece comes in. It's I know a lot of parents have extra burden on their plate too, because they might be working from home, or they might be those essential workers who are out there on the front lines doing whatever they need to do to help society. And I totally understand. But it's just been a learning curve for all of us.
You talk about all these things, e-learning and the Google Classroom and what you guys are using. There's also Zoom out there. I know our grandchildren, they live up in Michigan. The twins are looking at Zoom because now they can see their childhood mates and their friends. Is that important? And I know you talked about that, but recess, I mean, all those routine things that they did up until 30 days ago, they're out of routine as well, aren't they?
Oh yes, they're totally out of routine. And at first when our district announced we were going to take an extra 2 weeks after break, they were so excited. And some states are giving out calamity days, and what this means is it's just kind of here in Indiana, we're required to meet for 180 days. And so those 20 calamity days just kind of take 20 days off of that plate. So we were allowed to kind of omit, if you will, 20 days. And so that's what our district had planned to do in the beginning. Still waiting to hear what the plan is for the remainder of the year, or even just until May 1st.
You look. I'm sorry, Carla, but you look at the education. A lot of we look at the high school kids. The senior class is missing their senior year. I mean, the second semester is a type where they're having a good time and they're done with school. It's really tough for those, but for a first, second, third grader, it's got to be a little bit tougher for them as well.
It is, because like you mentioned, the Zoom calls and things of that nature, like Google Classroom Meets or whatever platform, where they can see each other. I did a Zoom call with my class just for fun, just to check in about a week and a half ago. And I had 3 out of 20 kids show up, and that's okay. I did it, on a Friday evening at 6 o'clock. But my friends that I call them my friends, as they are. My kids that showed up, though, for that Zoom call, just to see their face and how excited they were. I had one mom share, he has been waiting all day. He even set a timer, to make sure he didn't miss this phone call. And so, just the routine and seeing the same faces and seeing their friends. I mean, I feel like a lot of social learning is so critical in those lower, primary, elementary grades, and to not have that right now is so sad. It's devastating. And so we're just, as teachers, we are trying to do the best we can to meet all of their needs in the best ways possible, utilizing every platform we can possibly imagine. And I will say, I'm on some social media pages for teachers, and I have been blown away at, just as teachers from all over the country, and it's on a social media site, so it could be internationally too, as far as I know, just how they've come together and they've said, hey, I use this, here's an example, or here's this free resource. There's been tons and tons and tons of resources that teachers are just, putting out there for each other. So just the community amongst ourselves as teachers and educators has been really phenomenal just to watch and see us all coming together for the goodness of our kids.
Well, you're listening to the Sports Zone. We're taking a little way back a little bit today in this last interview today, just to talk to some teachers, and Carla Braun joins us from Richmond, Indiana, and we really appreciate what you've done. You know that I work part-time at Horizon Christian School, and I'm the recess guy, and I tell you what, I never thought I would miss lunchroom or recess, but I kind of miss those kids because they've been part of our lives for the whole entire year, and I'm sure they've kind of missed that as well.
Mm-hmm. They do. They just, like I mentioned, the social learning aspect is so important for their development on just so many levels, for their social growth, emotional growth. That's even one thing that I will comment out on report cards is how I'm worried about them socially, just because it's so important. Because our job as educators is not to just teach them the academic stuff. Yes, that's important, and to love on them, but to also make sure that they're growing up as, little wholesome people that we would love to see them be. So, we wear many hats as educators. So that definitely is important to try to give them, some kind of social connection during this time.
And that's why you guys are the MVPs. Carla, we're going to take a break. When we come back in 2 minutes, we're going to have a little quiz for you and see how educated you are and see if your students will judge you on your teaching. How about that?
Sounds good.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to Indiana SRN and the Sports Zone.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job that helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium black agnet steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer, and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. You are listening to the Sports Zone. I thought this last segment today we would talk to school teacher, and Carla Braun volunteered to do that. I think I twisted her arm a little bit. But Carla, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, here's your quiz. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Would you rather watch Gilligan's Island or Andy Griffith?
What was the first one? I'm sorry.
Gilligan's Island or Andy Griffith?
Oh, Gilligan for sure.
Okay. Burger King or Taco Bell?
Taco Bell.
Okay, spinach or carrots?
Ooh, spinach.
You want to hang out? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because you can blend it and stuff and not taste it.
Yeah. Oh, your physical fitness thing came out, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
I see that. Would you rather spend a day with Barney Fife or Gomer Pyle?
Ooh, I have to say Barney.
Okay. A good movie or a great book?
Ooh, I'm going to have to go with the book.
Okay, now I'm going to get you off your little physical fitness. Cake or pie?
Oh, cake for sure.
What kind of cake would you like?
Oh, I love yellow cake with chocolate icing.
There.
Or strawberry with cream cheese icing.
Oh my goodness! See,
Yes.
there goes your there goes your fitness for today.
It's all about moderation.
Is that okay? I'll tell Debbie that. I'll fix me a strawberry cake and tell her it's all about moderation. As we thank you very much for spending some time with us. I know it's a hard time for you. I know that your faith is going to carry you through this. Do you believe that we are going to go back to school here maybe in the month of May?
Honestly, I don't have a good feeling about it. I know our district met yesterday, and hopefully we're going to find out some more information on their decisions yesterday. But I was talking with my fellow teachers on my team this morning, and it's not looking good. But I am hopeful for August. I'm so hopeful for August.
Yeah, we thank you very much for your time. Thanks for spending some time with us, and keep smiling. And you can always listen to the Sports Zone every day from 11 to noon on Indiana SRN. Okay,
absolutely.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us on Indiana SRN and on the Sports Zone today. Don't forget to join us every day on Monday through Friday right here on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, it's Kurt Wallace from the Weekend Top 20 Countdown with a reminder that Lunch Break with Coach is coming up next here on IndianaSRN.org. It's inspiring music and so much more. Don't miss Lunch Break. It's coming up next on Indiana SRN.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Just 2 years ago, internet radio seemed to be a mysterious phenomenon. It was available for use, but there wasn't much data. That has changed. Today, there is a growing body of information on internet radio. 7 out of 10 people ages 18 to 45 prefer to listen to internet radio than a terrestrial radio station. If you are interested in reaching this audience, email us at coach@indianasrn.org. We look forward to sharing our low rates with you and help to market your business. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org.
Welcome.